Good morning. I'm Jim Moriarty, and when I realized this was going to be the Moriarty and Murphy show, what I said to Diane was, if this gig doesn't work, we could probably head to Boston and open a funeral home, because doesn't that sound like the epitome of Boston funeral homes? We'll have business cards at the door at the end of the day. For those of you that were here last year, you listened to the introduction with regard to our state systemic improvement plan, which has now become embedded in our state performance plan and the annual performance report. With that submission that took place in February of this year, those two reports were combined into one document that's a much less dense document than it previously existed as. Historically, those were two separate documents that included tremendous amounts of narrative in addition to all of the data and calculations that were included there. That's now become an entirely online submission with regard to the first 16 indicators for the SPP APR, and I've just provided this as kind of a context. The State Systemic Improvement Plan has now become what is actually identified as Indicator 17, a bit of a misnomer because it is a huge undertaking for us as a bureau, as a department, and as a state, and as a nation, as all states are developing their own SSIPs as well. Since we met this time last year, we worked with our stakeholders group working through phase 1 of the process. This just provides you with a reminder that all information relative to the SPP, SPR, and the SSIP, are you enjoying a little more alphabet soup here, are included on our State Department website. One of our goals as we move into phase 2 is to come up with a devoted web page within our website that addresses the issues of the SPP, the APR, and the state performance plan as well. Just a reminder what sort of the genesis of the SSIP is as mandated by OSEP. It really is moving away from the whole idea of compliance to the area of results. So it's really based in the foundation of results-driven accountability. It's intended to improve the performance of students with disabilities, including the provision of services, special education, as well as related services. And it's based on the premise of stakeholder support from a variety of individuals and agencies. Certainly the stakeholders that we worked with over the course of the last year have been representatives from districts from throughout each of the regions in the state, advocacy groups, parent groups, the State Advisory Council, as well as staff from across the Department of Ed and its variety of offices and bureaus. And I do want to publicly thank all of the people that worked incredibly hard to move us through phase 1. You know, as you've been aware, this is work that we've done until Isabelina's arrival in the absence of a bureau chief. So certainly for the support that was provided throughout the department and the support that those of you that have worked with us from the district perspective, again, thank you for all of that time and energy to bring us to where we are today. This is what phase 1 looked like as we looked at analyzing our data. Diane's going to talk specifically to that in just a minute. Looking at both our infrastructure and kind of looking at infrastructure across the state in terms of what currently exists and how we might need to build capacity. The identification of our Connecticut-specific state-identified measurable result for students with disabilities. We'll provide some specific information around that. And Diane's actually going to take you on the walk that brought us to the identification of our SIMR, our state-identified measurable result here in Connecticut. The identification of coherent improvement strategies, and we were required in the submission of the report to develop a theory of action as well. Our plan was submitted to OSEP in April of this year. In June of this year, we did receive notification that it was both accepted and approved, and we're pretty pleased with the fact that we received fairly positive feedback on our report as it was submitted to the folks in DC. Now I'm going to turn things back over to Diane, again, to kind of walk you through the data that brought us to where we ended up, identifying our SIMR and the components of our plan.